Good morning, everybody. And now I'd like to introduce today's keynote, David Reid, who I've heard speak before, and he's an amazing speaker. David Reid leads a dynamic team of industrial and lean engineers at Chick-fil-A, driving innovation and process improvement across the organization. He holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from Georgia Tech and discovered his true passion for industrial engineering during his time at Michelin Tire Corporation. David is a busy, savvy engineering leader with the heart of a teacher. He is deeply committed to cultivating excellence through lean thinking and process optimization. Known for inspiring the next generation, David provides training across all organizational levels, from introductory to advanced lean and industrial engineering practices. Let's welcome today's keynote to the stage, David Reid.
I know I'm the only thing sitting between you and 2 days of deep thinking and networking and getting home to your family. So thank you for showing up this morning, and I hope to bring you some things to inspire you to take some of the best practices that we do at Chick-fil-A and use them in your sphere. I do lead a group of 16 elite industrial systems engineers who innovate processes, equipment, and systems for Chick-fil-A. The real heroes in our company are operators, our owner-operators who run restaurants, our 150,000 team members who man the front line, and then our customers who come back and eat with us. And our job as an industrial and systems engineering team is to support operators and team members and customers. So if you have been to Chick-fil-A recently and had a good experience, it's primarily due to our operators and team members, but our team works hard to make sure you have that. So you're welcome if you've had a good experience. If you've been to Chick-fil-A recently and your experience wasn't exceptional, I'm sorry. We still have a lot of work to do. So what I want to share with you guys today are the top 10 best industrial and systems engineering practices that I believe have helped Chick-fil-A achieve exponential growth, leverage momentum, and create our own special sauce. I love best practices because when you and I share an idea with each other, neither one of us has lost anything, but both of us have gained something that we can go and make our processes better. And so this is kind of a tall order for us to say we've had exponential growth. We've had lots of momentum to leverage, and we have a special sauce as a company. So first of all, let me see if I can convince you that is true. So here are Chick-fil-A sales going all the way back to 1968 when the very first Chick-fil-A opened in Greenbrier Mall here in Atlanta. I started Chick-fil-A in 2014, and we had just crossed $5 billion in sales. And in 2024, we crossed $23 billion. So we've quadrupled in the last 10 years. I love to tell my boss that it's actually the team of industrial and systems engineers that has made all of that growth happen. But I don't think he's buying it, and it wouldn't be right to say that because it really is our operators and team members who do the most work. And in fact, one of the best things we do is find good ideas that operators and team members have already come up with in the field and then systematize them so that the whole chain can benefit from it. This is my favorite graph that I'm going to show you guys. These are the average annual unit volumes of quick services restaurants. The data is actually from 2022, but it's roughly the same. It's just grown a little bit by the end of 2024, and actually put Chick-fil-A's 2024 number on there just to update it. And as you can see, of the top quick service volume restaurants, we are about quadruple the sales of several of them and about double the sales of our two closest competitors. We are the busiest lunch hour per labor hour and per square foot of space of any restaurant chain in the world. And for those of you who know us, we do those sales that you see in 6 days a week instead of 7 days a week. Let's talk about momentum just a little bit. In the year 2000, Chick-fil-A was 37th in total sales among restaurants. By 2005, we'd moved up to number 25. By 2010, we were at number 14. By 2017, we were at number 8. And then from 2018 through 2024, we've been number 3. We are the number 3 largest chain by sales, and our 2 competitors are way ahead of us. And we have 3,000 locations, and they have about 5 and 10 times many locations as we do. But our momentum is not just about sales. We're really known for customer service. And I'm just going to put up a few different ones, headlines that talk about our customer service. And we've topped the ACSI Consumer Satisfaction Study for the 8th consecutive year. Actually, this is from 2022. I think we've won it the last 2 years as well. So definitely our customers give us credit for being customer service oriented. Another area of momentum is that we introduced our app back in 2017 on June 1st. I remember the team that rolled out the app set a BHAG that 10% of our sales would come through the app by the end of the year. And nobody thought we could just overnight in 6 months have 10% of our sales coming through, but we hit that goal. And then during the pandemic, 28% of our sales were coming through the mobile app. So huge growth with our app. And then now let's talk a little bit about special sauce. So I am a data person, as you all are, and I look for data in all kinds of places. And so one of the unique places I've gone to see what Chick-fil-A customers think about us as a company is to YouTube. And so I have, about once a year, I go and update and see, and there are over 25 love songs to Chick-fil-A on YouTube. There are love songs to our waffle fries. There are love songs to our sweet tea, to our lemonade, to our nuggets. There are songs lamenting that we're closed on Sundays. There are songs about our team members and how courteous they are. And then there are songs saying, I want to go to Chick-fil-A, but it's Sunday. Now, think about that. 25 love songs to Chick-fil-A. Now, I've got some brands that I love, but I can't think of many that have love songs to them. I am an Apple fanboy. I cannot wait until June 9th for the next Keynote. And I watch all of the Apple fan videos and waiting up for it. But I don't think I've heard a love song to Apple Computer. I love Amazon. I get way too much cardboard at home, and I am so thankful that I can just think of something, and 2 days later with like 2 button pushes, I have it. But I can't find any love songs to Amazon. I may be wrong. If you work for one of those companies and find them, let me know. But there are lots of companies that write their own jingles of what they want you to think about them. But what if your customer wrote their own jingles about you? That is a special sauce. And that may be the highest evidence of us as industrial and systems engineers providing value and quality in our customers' lives. This YouTube video here, I'm not going to play it for you, but it's live. You can go see it on YouTube. This is a lady bragging on our customer service from her car right after she's been served. And she raves about us, and she says Chick-fil-A ought to be training the military and the government, and things would just magically get better if they would put us in charge. And I think, yeah, the IISE ought to be in charge of those things. She even goes so far as to say that if we got her order wrong, she trusts us so much that that must have been what she really should have ordered because Chick-fil-A wouldn't do her wrong. Now, unfortunately, we do make wrong orders sometimes, but that is a tremendous amount of trust that she gives us. That is a special sauce with our customers. So where does this special sauce come from? I think if I have to boil it down to one thing, it is our concept of second mile service. Here's the best way I can illustrate that for you. This is Hurricane Harvey in August of 2017. It is as big as the state of Texas when it hit. And there were lots of stories like this. A couple who frequented a Houston Chick-fil-A were worried. They were safe, but they obviously weren't. They were flooded in their house and were not going to be able to come to Chick-fil-A. And so they called their local Chick-fil-A because they knew their local team members would be concerned about them because they came in at this certain time every week. And they said, hey, we're okay. We just want to let you know you won't see us today. We're actually flooded in the top floor of our house. And that restaurant cared about them so much, they arranged to go pick them up in a jet ski and make sure that they could get to safety and not have to wait for a rescuer to come. That is special sauce. There's lots of stories where people actually just go to Chick-fil-A when they need help. Here's an article where a World War II veteran had a flat tire, and as you can imagine, at an advanced stage, that could be a stressful experience. And he said, hey, if I can just make it to Chick-fil-A, somebody will help me there. And he went to Chick-fil-A, and then a manager went out and helped change his tire. And then here's one. There are amazing stories that come out like this every once in a while. A team member was taking mom's order, and at the same moment, the mom and the team member recognized that in the back seat, their 6-year-old boy had gotten the seatbelt kind of twisted around his neck and was turning red, was not being able to breathe. And the mom, as you might imagine, in that moment was frozen for just a second. What do? I'm stuck in the drive-thru. I can't even get my door open. And the team member went out the window and helped rescue the boy in the back seat. So there is just some amazing stories of our team members who go the second mile for our customers. We have a desire to be the world's most caring company, and that is expressed. I might care deeply about that, but I'm going to come in contact with, maybe 20 customers a year. Maybe if I get to speak to you, maybe a couple of hundred customers. But our 150,000 team members get to interact with thousands of customers every day, and they carry it in their heart that we want to be the world's most caring company. So, I hope I have convinced you that we have had some exponential growth, that we have some great momentum, and that we have a special sauce with our customers. But now I want to tell you that I believe some of the IE practices that we do are what have helped get us there. And so to make this a little practical for you guys, I'd like for you to take out a sheet of paper, and you're going to answer 10 questions as we go through here. So it can be a scrap sheet of paper or a full sheet, and just write down on the side number 1 through 10. And as I share these 10 practices with you, I want to encourage you to rate your enterprise, whether you're in academia, whether you're in industry, whether you're in healthcare, whether you're a student, think about your school, or think about the job you may want to have one day. And as I share these best practices, particularly for those of you who represent a company and are doing IE work for a company, rate yourself as to how your company is doing. And a 0 is, oh my gosh, we've never even thought about this, or we think about it, but we're terrible at it. And then a 5 is, hey, David, you ought to get off the stage and let me teach you guys this because our company does this great. So 0 to 5 on these next 10 questions. So the first IE practice that I believe has helped us do these things at Chick-fil-A that I think every company needs to be thinking about is to know your S-curve and where you are on it. You know what an S-curve is? It tracks the health and growth of an organization. And so every organization starts and you kind of have to invest heavy up front, and maybe you've got more dollars going out than sales coming in at first. But as you kind of hit your stride and you begin to meet the needs of the market, you begin to grow. And at some point you're growing really well. And because the world changes, at some point you begin to flatten off. Maybe there's more competitors. Maybe the customer wants something different than they wanted in the past from you. And you really have to, if you want to stay in the game for long term, at some point you have to say, what got me here is not going to get me to the next level of growth. And you have to jump off of that S-curve before it begins to decline and get to the next thing. And so from 1967 through about 1986, Chick-fil-A was only in malls. It started in Greenbrier Mall here in Atlanta, and by the height of it, we were in about 1,800 malls. And malls were great for Chick-fil-A because there was low barrier to entry. The building's already built. You just come in and move in some fryers. We were small volume by then, so we really actually didn't need that much space. And so from 1967 to 1986, we were only in malls. In 1986, Chick-fil-A built its first freestander. That's way later than any other chain you can think of that you know today. And that chain was thought to do 1 million in sales in 1986. It actually did 2 million the first year. So we realized, hey, it's worth being a destination place and not only being available when people are actually shopping somewhere else in the mall. And by the way, since we're closed on Sundays, that might be the busiest day in the mall. So in 1986, we kind of jumped off of the mall S-curve onto building our own restaurants, freestanders. And really, you want to disrupt yourself. Today, we're only in 230 malls, but those malls have an average of about $2 million worth of sales. The average freestander today has $9.4 million in sales. So we disrupted ourselves so that we could go somewhere. And in the early days, we didn't even have our own research team of where to find a piece of property to build a restaurant. And so we just followed Home Depot. Wherever Home Depot built, we bought their out parcel and do it. So today, if you're looking for a Chick-fil-A, probably there's a good chance that if there's a Home Depot, there's a Chick-fil-A out in front of it. That was our strategy for many years. So then we had freestanders, and then now we are looking forward that, hey, is this going to last forever? And we're looking at things like, hey, what if one day with all of this self-driving technology and things that are coming up, remote work and all that, will people always come to our restaurant to eat food? And we envision a day where maybe you'll hire your car one day and it'll just come pick you up and take you where you need to go. And you may not want to just go to a fast food place, and you may not have your own car. So we are thinking about how do we disrupt ourselves and take food to where people are instead of making them come to us to get their food. And so there's several things we're doing. We've invested heavily in delivery and how can we provide that Chick-fil-A hospitality and team member customer experience at home by bringing our own team members to your home. And then also, how can we provide hot, fresh food? And so one of the things my team specifically worked on is this is a bag that has a lot of technology in it to try to keep our waffle fries hot and fresh for longer. If you've seen our waffle fries, they are the perfect heat transfer device, and they lose heat immediately. And so we've come up with a way to pull the humidity off of them and make a 20-minute waffle fry taste like a 5-minute waffle fry in the store. And so those are some of the things we're trying to do so that we can serve people where they are. So rate yourself. How are you guys, your company, does your business know what your S-curve is? Do you know where you are on it? Or you still got a long runway, or do you need to be thinking about what's next? And do you know when you need to jump on the next thing? And if you don't, is it being talked about in the leadership of your company trying to figure out what's next? I'm going to show you a video, and just so you know, this is a video that's a couple of years old. I'm not allowed to show you the very, very current stuff we're working on. But you're going to see some of the ways we're trying to disrupt ourselves. And let me just point out a couple of things you're going to see. Biscuits are one of the hardest jobs in the restaurant. You're going to see biscuit automation. Most of them are self-explanatory. You'll see we think a lot about motion. How do we get food to the customer? How do we get the restaurant stocked with the right inventory at the right time and the right amounts? So you'll see some of the concepts that we're working on. Some of these are just concepts that we do a lot of storytelling at Chick-fil-A to say, hey, how interested in the business is this? And the IISE figure out, hey, we think we could save this much. We think we could generate this much sales if we were to pursue this. But then you're going to see some things that we have real prototypes on. So you're going to see nugget boxing. And one thing we're always thinking about is, when do all of our bottleneck pieces of equipment break? And so we can look a few years out and say, if we keep growing at the rate that we are, at some point, the physical table that we build sandwiches and nuggets and strips and salads on is going to break. And so how much work do we need to take off of that table and automate in some way so that that table will last us several more years with 8 people around it, which is our max number of people that have enough elbow room to work. And so you'll see automated nugget boxing, and we look at things, what could be automated? You're going to see we've built a fryer that will cook 36 fillets at a time instead of 24 fillets at a time. It's kind of a technical feat to build a fryer that cooks 50% more, but what is the hardest of the whole thing is how do you make the ergonomics okay for a team member to now raise 50% more chicken weight every time they run a batch. And so you'll see ergonomic lift that we're working on so that the team member doesn't have the weight of the chicken. So here's just a couple of things that are in there to watch for. So 0 to 5, how are you doing on knowing your S-curve? Practice number 2, cultivate a healthy culture. Drucker said culture eats strategy for breakfast. And what he meant by that was having a healthy culture is even more important than having a good strategy. The number one question I get asked when people hear that I work for Chick-fil-A is, how do your team, actually the number one question I get asked is, why does Chick-fil-A need engineers? You guys understand why. The second most often question I get asked is, how do your team members do such amazing things? How do you train people to have that second mile service and to be attentive and courteous and sometimes even do heroic things? And even just to doing the little things, to committed to quality food and clean restrooms. And I would say there are 2 answers to that. First of all, we hire for culture fit. We look for team members who are servant-hearted. We look for people who have empathy for others. I honestly think it's something that probably happens most of the time before you're 5 years old, and we're just identifying the people who are going to want to go that second mile. I think you can grow into it if you want to, but you have to really want to change and do that. So we hire for culture fit, and then the second piece is we reinforce culture and train for our culture. So we teach emotional intelligence to 16-year-olds, and we teach them to match the customer's mood. Nobody, if they've just had their pet die, wants you saying, hey, it's a great day at Chick-fil-A, aren't you glad to be here? We teach them to match the mood of the customer. We empower them to make decisions that if they recognize somebody's having a really tough day, most team members, most operators give their team members a certain amount of promo-free meals they can give out during the month without having to ask anybody, and just on their own they can decide, hey, we want to cover your meal today. It sounds like you're going through a hard time. So we teach how to watch for the little things, how to anticipate needs before they have. And so those are the two things. And then I would say cultivating a healthy culture is not just something we do for our front line. It's also something we do in our engineering department. So this is my one-page strategy with my team of industrial engineers. And we'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute. But the main thing I want you to see right here is our values are at the core of how we want to show up to Chick-fil-A. And so we have serve with heart as our values. And this is a kind of a Chick-fil-A model that everybody in the company knows what they mean, but we've actually written specific definitions for what this means for us in engineering. So we see the future. We're thinking about what problems the rest of the organization hasn't experienced yet, but we can look with our analytical tools and say, hey, in a few years, we're going to need this. And so that's one of the things that is part of our culture of engineering. We're not satisfied with where we are. We want to look at how's the company going to keep growing because of what we do, and we solve the problem before the rest of the organization even knows they have it. Reinvent continuously. Before I hire somebody, I sit down with them and I say, you know what? You are going to say good, but you're going to become a subject matter expert about every 2 years on something, and then that project is going to end. And the next day, you're going to start over in another part of the business and have to learn something you didn't know at all before. If you want to get somewhere and kind of get a body of knowledge in a domain and own it, you're probably not going to like to be on my team, because that's all we do is develop something and give it to somebody else to maintain it. And then we go develop something new. So if you want to reinvent continuously, come join my team. If you want to kind of get to a steady state, you probably don't want to be on the industrial and systems engineering team. And then value results and relationships. At Chick-fil-A, we talk about what you do is important. We want results, but just as important is how you get them. So if you get results, but you leave a pile of dead bodies in your wake because you're hard to work with and you don't cooperate well with others, that's not Chick-fil-A. And so you need to be able to value results and relationships. And things are probably going to take longer than they would take in any other company you've ever been in, but we're going to get more people involved in it together, and we're going to put more effort behind it over the long term. So we got to go slow on the front end, but then we will pick up speed on the end. And that's part of the way Chick-fil-A does it. And so I let you know those things before I hire you. I give you coaching on those things as you go through it. And it's part of how we cultivate a healthy culture, even in engineering. So how is your company doing on cultivating a healthy culture among all its staff? And number 3, get everybody on the same page. We have 2,500 operators. We have over 150,000 team members. We have about 3,000 corporate staff. And we are human just like the rest of you. And there is a bell curve of everybody thinking they know the right thing to do and everybody deciding what to do. So how in the world do we create a consistent experience across 3,000 different restaurants with almost 200,000 people? Well, we get everybody on the same page. And so this changes every year. Just on the bottom, pretty much what are we focused on the next 3 years? It typically changes on the bottom. The top never changes, and the middle changes about every 10 years when we kind of pick what's next that we need to focus on. But a couple of things you'll notice here. I've already told you we want to be the world's most caring company. Everybody rallies around this vision. If you were to go, there's probably a dozen Chick-fil-A's within 10 miles of here. If you were to go to any Chick-fil-A, I almost bet you, they might not say it exactly the same way. You might have to prompt them a little bit, but you can ask from a cashier to a breader, hey, what is Chick-fil-A trying to accomplish? And they would tell you, we want to be the world's most caring company. And then how do we do that? We do it by winning hearts every day. What is that, you ask? We are big on one-pagers. Here's the one-pager for what winning hearts every day means. For my technical people, operational excellence is part of our winning hearts every day strategy. When we win moments because we have hot, fresh food, then we win hearts. And then second mile service is the service part of it. And this is how we train our team members. And at the bottom, we pay attention to details. We anticipate needs before they happen. Deliver the core four. What is that? That is create eye contact, share a smile, speak with a friendly tone, and always say my pleasure. I cannot tell you how many competitors I go into, and create eye contact is not one of their things that they try to do. So that's how we teach our team members. And then I have a one-pager for my team, and I'll just point out a couple of things. Our vision as industrial and systems engineers is to make the right choice the easy choice. So I've got 4 groups on my team. One are traditional shop floor IEs, and they go out if the company wants to make a new sandwich for the summertime. They go out and, time study and figure out the best way to put the sauce on a barbecue sandwich and where it ought to live on the table and all of those kind of things. And so their marching orders are to make the right choice the easy choice. Let's make sure if we're going to have a new sauce bottle that there's a place for it to sit so it doesn't ever fall on the floor. All of those kind of things. Let's make the right choice the easy choice for the team member. I have systems engineers who are thinking big thoughts about how do we get better at how much chicken to make right now in this moment based on how many cars have driven on the lot, how many people have walked in the door, what's already in the fryer right now, what the breader's already working on. Let's take all of those data points and then do a mathematical calculation and say, right now, this moment, to not overproduce chicken that might expire and not underproduce and have a stock out and disappoint the customer and make them wait longer, here's how many pieces you could do. Let's make the right choice of how much chicken needs to be cooked right now, the easy choice. I have a group of consultants who go around and basically take operational restaurant subject matter expertise and then go consult with food safety and operations and all these other groups that don't dig into the facts as much as we do. And they go around and say, hey, you guys ought to think about this, or how can our team serve you this way, and what are the biggest food safety things that we ought to be working on? And so their job is to make the right choice, the easy choice for our partners. So those are, and then we've got a lean group that actually interfaces with team members directly. How can we help them focus on the things they should be doing in the restaurant? So that's our vision statement. One of the things we talk about is we're here to chart the path. We're looking down the road at what needs to happen, and we're telling the business, these are the things we need to invest in. And then Chick-fil-A is not an engineering company. It is a marketing company that just happens to have an engineering department. And so we have to be really good storytellers, way better storytellers than when I was at Michelin. And when I was at Michelin, you could go say, this is going to save money. And you basically had to explain your calculations and make sure everybody agreed with you, and you got the money. At Chick-fil-A, it's how is this going to make the customer feel? And so we are trying to get better at how we tell compelling stories. And so that's part of our strategy. So number 3, get everybody on the same page. Would you say that everybody in your company could say, hey, we want to be X, and that we're all working the same way to get there? Give yourself a 0 to 5. Number 4, understand your value equation as a business. At Chick-fil-A, we talk about value is what you get, what the customer gets, divided by what they have to pay. And that simple mathematical formula is value. And we're very clear about what value is to our customers. And so from my perspective as a restaurant operational person, we think about exactly what is it the customer wants to get from us. Well, table stakes is food safe. It's all fun and games until somebody gets sick. And so we want to give food that's cooked to the right temperature, that's prepared according to the recipe, that is not going to make anybody sick. We want to give quality food. People will pay a lot of money for a salad. It needs to be the best quality ingredients, and the people need to be proud of the salad they get from Chick-fil-A. We want the food to be hot and fresh. There's nothing worse than a stale waffle fry or a stale sandwich. People want clean restaurants. I have vegetarians come to me when they hear I work for Chick-fil-A. They say, "Oh, I don't really like your chicken. I'm a vegetarian. But when I go to the beach, I'm looking for a Chick-fil-A to stop and go to the restroom because you guys, I know, are going to have clean restrooms." That's part of our value equation. Napkins, condiments, and straws. Every time I go to a competitor, and like I've never seen, I will be very ashamed whenever it does happen, but I've never in 10 years of working at Chick-fil-A seen a Chick-fil-A without napkins. But I've often seen a competitor that has run out of napkins, and like everything in me wants to go coach them a little bit and say, you know what? If you're going to serve food, humans need napkins. And they're not perishable, so if you're still going to serve food next week, why don't you order some extra napkins so that you're never out of napkins to do that? That's a pet peeve of mine. If you order a drink, you should get a straw. If you order an entree that goes good with a sauce, you should have been asked, what sauce do you want with that if it's not obvious? So napkins, condiments, and straws that go with the meal that you're getting. Attentive and courteous employees. You should look your customer in the eye. You should be glad that they have come in, that they have chosen to spend their money with you. Craveable food. Food that tastes good. Food that you want to eat over and over and over again. Healthy. If you want it. If not, we want you to have a choice. Order accuracy. It is a crime for somebody to pay their hard-earned money and order what they want, and especially if they walk out through the drive-thru and find out later they didn't get what they paid for. We have stolen from our customer if we do that. And so order accuracy is part of what they should expect from us. And then fast service. Time is the most valuable thing any of us have, and we owe it to our customers to give them fast service and get their food to them as quick as we can to make it food safe and quality. So those are the things that we give to our customer. And then what do they pay? Certainly they pay for the money of it. If it's a $8.56 number one meal, they pay their money, but they also pay their time. And when you have high volumes, then you have people in front of you wanting it, and so it takes a lot of time to serve them. How much effort does somebody have to pay to work with your company? Is there friction in your system? Or can they do it exactly the way they want to? We have extroverts who come to Chick-fil-A because they want team members to talk to them. We have people more like me who want to use the app, and my best Chick-fil-A experience is to not have to talk to a single person and to click one button on my app that this is my favorite order and tell them that it's here and pick it up as I go through the drive-thru and not have to speak to anybody. We want to serve you however you want to, but we want to get that friction factor down to zero if possible. And then risk, I added this after the pandemic, when you remember those scary days when it's like, I don't know who I trust to prepare food for me, and are they wash their hands, and am I going to get sick by going to do something? And so we actually, during the pandemic, moved hand washing stations outside to the drive-thru. Not because we were washing our hands more often. We already have rules about, if you handle money, then wash your hands before you go back to handing a team member food, and wash your hands every 30 minutes regardless. Just it's a good practice, and it's part of our system. But we actually brought our hand washing stations outside just to give the customer added trust that, hey, these guys are taking this seriously, because it was a risk to eat with us, and it was something you had to pay, and we wanted to reduce what you had to pay and let you know that we were taking that risk seriously. So, do you understand your value equation for your customers? Rate yourself 0 to 5. Fifth practice, measure what matters. These are the main metrics that we keep track of. Speed of service, we measure it in seconds. We have a goal that you will be served in 60 seconds or less. We don't always meet that, but that is our target, is that we can prepare anything and put it all together and give it to you within 60 seconds. And I love talking to a group full of industrial engineers. People always say, how do you make the drive-through so fast? Or else they're complaining to me that it's not fast enough. But as you guys know, it's all about load balancing. It's all about splitting all the work that has to be done into parallel pieces of equal time. And the biggest trick is getting the order to the kitchen as soon as possible so you have the most cycle time to work on the food in the back of the house and marry it up with the meal by the time the customer's paid. So we measure speed of service. We measure space. Dan Cathy said to me in 2015, why do I have to go to McDonald's to get a smoothie? Why can't I get a smoothie in my own restaurant? We did all the analysis and we came back to him and said, Mr. Cathy, here's what we think it would sell the way you want to do it, with food theater and protein and vegetables and fruit and all these things. And we think we're probably going to sell about 25 a day, and it's going to cost this much to do it. And we're probably going to make about $114 per cubic foot that we dedicate to this. And we're used to making $1,800 per cubic foot on chicken. And Mr. Cathy said to me, I'll go to McDonald's and get my smoothie. Thank you for telling me that. Capacity, we talk about capacity, and think about it. We have 3,000 different restaurants. They all theoretically have different bottlenecks. They were built in different years with different footprints. They have different demographics, different population densities, different P-mixes based on, whether the population skews spicy or skews healthy. And so we have moving bottlenecks for a variable demand product that only has a 20-minute hold time. I tell my team at Michelin I could cook tires at 2 o'clock in the morning. At Chick-fil-A, we can only cook a chicken sandwich 20 minutes before the customer wants to eat it. So it is a non-trivial manufacturing problem to figure out your capacity bottlenecks. We think about capacity in terms of units per peak hour. Peak hour is a concept, not a specific time of day. Peak hour might, for one restaurant, be at dinner time. It might be at 12 o'clock, might be at 2 o'clock, depending on your traffic patterns. But peak hour is the time of the day that you experience your most sales. Most things we talk about peak hour, but in ice stream, we talk about peak 15 minutes. We call it Shake 30. It's at 3:30 right after school's out, and every kid comes through and buys a milkshake. And so we have to have a high burst of capacity at milkshakes, and then it tails off for the rest of the day. Our promise to the operators, because they want to make money and they want to have enough capacity, is to give them enough capacity to run their 16th busiest day. Why the 16th busiest hour of the year, actually, the 16th busiest peak hour. Why the 16th hour of the day, you might ask? I'm glad you asked. We're open 310 days. Remember, we're closed on Sundays. And so the 16th busiest day represents the 95th percentile volume. If we were to give restaurants enough capacity to run their top busiest day, 100 percentile, which by the way is Black Friday, we have customers who love us so much that they eat breakfast with us. They may come back and eat lunch with us. And if we're lucky, maybe they'll even come eat dinner with us while they're out Christmas shopping. So Black Friday is our busiest day of the year. If we were to build every restaurant where it could handle Black Friday volume, might get you a little bit happier on that day, but the restaurant would be 30% more. The cost of a meal would be way more all year long because the infrastructure and the electricity and all of that we would have to buy to do that. And by the way, that capacity would sit unused 95% of the year, which is not a good investment for us. So we have drawn the line in the sand to be at the 95th percentile. And if the company's having a tight year, we may flex that down and say, hey, we're going to do to the 90th percentile. Right now, we have 2 kids in college at Chick-fil-A. We're expanding internationally, and we are building out our own Chick-fil-A supply. And so there's less money to invest in reinvestments. And so we're being honest with our operators. Hey, it's going to be tight for now, but it's going to pay off in the future. So we're very particular about knowing where our bottlenecks are and capacitizing generally to the 95th peak hour for equipment. Team member complexity, that includes labor, but it also, I'll explain a little bit more about that. Cost, certainly we care about cost. We track like a hawk how much our labor is costing based on what we think it should cost by the number of sales each restaurant has, how much coder, our seasoned coder cost, how much our chicken cost, how much our potatoes cost, how much oil usage we have, and we track those to see if we're using them correctly or we have a gap, and then we go and try to figure out how to help operators with those gaps. And then finally, customer experience. Every restaurant gets a visit 30 times a year. 30 times a year. That's over 2 times a month from a third party that just is acting as a regular customer. You don't know it when they come in, and they order a number one, they order a grilled sandwich, they order a salad, they order inside and they order in the drive-thru, and they have a list of about 110 things they are marking on how well we're doing. Did the team member say my pleasure? Was there trash on the ground? Did the sandwich look right? Was it the right color and consistency? And was it fresh? And all of these things. And then we get this massive amount of data that says how we're doing as a chain. And then the operator gets that data of how he's doing as a specific store. So we track customer experience. Let's talk just a little bit more about team member complexity. We want to be the world's most caring company. And so we actually ask our team members, what makes this job, I used to call this the misery index, and Chick-fil-A didn't like that language, so now it's team member complexity. But my question is, what makes this job difficult or dangerous that you don't want to do it? And so we asked team members those questions. We did large surveys. We wanted to know people who worked back of house and front of house so we could compare those jobs to each other. And the whole purpose of this is to figure out, what should we automate? What should we move upstream? What should we simplify so that our team members have a job that they enjoy coming to? And so in the interest of time, I won't go through all of these, but we couldn't find anybody else that was measuring team member complexity, so we came up with a measurement. And here's just some of the output of it. Bagger is the most complex job in the restaurant. Tell that person you appreciate them, especially if you get your order right. There are a lot of things they are managing in their head. They're looking at screens from the year 2000. We're working on trying to get pictures and things like that better for them to match up. But right now they are reading labels, reading screens, pulling from multiple different places, and that's all happening in a very chaotic environment. And so it is a minor miracle when you get your order right, and we are working to how to take the complexity off of that role. This is a team member complexity map of the day. So you have from 6 in the morning to when we open until 11 o'clock at night when we close. And then certainly at peak hour, you can see the red where that's where the complexity is done. And we actually use this as a roadmap to say, hey, what about that job on the top should we be able to automate? So we're looking at pick and place systems and things like that one day could put the sauces that go with this meal directly in the bag with a little suction cup robotic arm putting them in instead of a team member even having to think about sauces. So measure what matters. How is your company doing from 0 to 5? This is one of my favorite stories. As an IISE, we need to optimize the whole value stream and not just look at one part of it. So we woke up in 2017 and realized that we were 500 thawing cabinets behind across the chain. It takes 5 minutes and 20 seconds to cook a Chick-fil-A sandwich, but it takes 30 hours in the restaurant to thaw a filet it comes flash frozen, and then it takes 30 hours to thaw it to be able to bread it. So that is by far the longest process in our restaurant. And we have big thawing cabinets that are basically controlled refrigerators, so they actually can inject heat in. You're trying to keep no part of the chicken from getting above 40, but other than that, you want to put as much heat as you can to take it from 32 degrees up to 40 so that you can bread it and it'll cook right. And so we woke up and we were 500 thawing cabinets behind. David, how can you be 500 thawing cabinets behind and still serve good product? Well, we had emergency procedures that you can thaw chicken in a walk-in cooler, just a regular refrigerator. It just takes longer than 30 hours, but it's a procedure, and you can check the temp and make sure it's okay, and that was doing. Well, every restaurant, or 500 restaurants in the chain were having to thaw in their walk-in cooler, and it was starting to show up as a big problem because it's taking up space of things that should be in the walk-in, and it was taking even longer to thaw. And so that was a problem because thawing cabinets are about $15,000 a piece. But more so than that, there was no space for another 500 thawing cabinets. So it was going to be a construction project to build more thawing into the system. And so as we began to dig into that, how can we thaw faster? What can we do? It pretty quickly became obvious that we had a density problem. And so our process was, as the chicken is processed at the factory, literally it comes off sealed in bags, and literally guys would take it off a conveyor belt and throw it into a corner in a freezer, and then close the door and flash freeze it. And so it was freezing in such a way that, one side of the bag might be this thick and it go down to this thick. And so this is how it was going into our thawing cabinets in a lot of cases. And as you can think about, first of all, you're losing a lot of space right here that you ought to be able to have some chicken. And then also, the whole purpose of thawing is that you need that warm airflow between everything. So you're getting no airflow between there. And by the way, you see, we were thawing on plastic, which is very much an insulator. So we weren't even getting any heat flow on the bottom of the chicken. And so we began to think through this from an engineering perspective, and here's what we do today. So as you can see, you're getting a lot more chicken in the thaw cabinet. We shifted to metal pans, and now you have airflow on top, and you have heat transfer on the bottom. We actually got our thawing time down. We got the density we needed, and we went from being 500 thawing cabinets behind to being about 250 thawing cabinets ahead across the chain. So huge win for heat transfer and for industrial engineering, figuring that out. I'll tell you one other thing. The reason we need IISE, when I came in 2014, by the way, the two different colors are two different types of chicken. We serve fillets, nuggets, strips, and spicy. And so those are just two different types of chicken. And so the way when I got there in 2014 that we were keeping track of what chicken is thawed and what chicken is going to be thawed in 6 hours from now, and what chicken's going to be thawed tomorrow, was every time you used up chicken, you took some more chicken out of the freezer and you put it in the thawing cabinet. And then what they did at the end of every day was they reordered the thawing cabinet, because the rule was you always take the chicken at the bottom to thaw, and so they reordered it. And really, they were doing all this motion, and it was not me. I wish I could take credit for it, but my predecessors before me said, hey, we don't really need to move the chicken. We just need to move a little plastic indicator. And so you wouldn't think that 3,000 restaurants would not think, hey, I really don't need to move the chicken. But they're not thinking about the process like an IE gets to sit in the building and think about what wasted motion is there. So optimize the whole value stream. For my value stream people in here, this is value stream. I promise you we did this on butcher block all the way across the room, butcher block paper, but we put it in Excel just to store it. But that is the longest process in the restaurant, and we do our value stream maps. Another story. Back in about 2016, we were hand juicing 10 cases of lemons a day. That is 300 pounds of lemons being shipped in cases to the average restaurant. So high volume restaurants were way more than 10 cases. And that is a very manual process. If this guy's a linebacker, you get a lot of pulp in your lemonade. If this is a petite team member, you might not get as much pulp as you want. So a lot of inconsistency in the product. And certainly this was the most disliked job in the restaurant. He actually doesn't have the guard on there to keep everything inside there because it's too small for his hand. And then also, even though he's wearing gloves, as you can imagine, having your hand that close to citrus juice all the time is irritating if you have any part of your body that is not totally sealed up. So it is the most hated job in the restaurant. And we ended up doing the math and figuring out that we could build a $150 million factory in California, 4 miles from where all of our lemons are grown. And it was a triple win. We actually saved money because we were no longer shipping 10 cases of lemons to every restaurant. Here is the juice that we actually need. So out of 10 cases of lemon, you needed about 10 of these bags, and those are right-sized for a batch of lemon juice now. So now you get 1 case of 10 bags of juice, and it was good for team members because they didn't have to do that hard job anymore. It was good for landfills because we weren't putting all those waste products in landfills and down the drain. And we actually made money from all the peel oil and rinds and stuff that we weren't using at all before. And now they go into furniture polishes and cattle feed and all that. So great industrial engineering story of reducing waste and only giving the customer what they need. So how are you doing on optimizing the whole value stream, 0 to 5? Guys, I'm an old dog in the room. You probably know in academia, and students probably are ahead of me on this, but AI is going to be huge. I'm using it every day just to not get behind. Like, oh, it can do this. Oh, Google Gemini can do this. Oh, ChatGPT can do this. And that's just to stay up with. And I believe there's a day where all those things that right now in my mind are we've got to figure out the mathematical formulas to do this. I think we're going to get to the point where we're going to say, hey, Google or whoever, hey, ChatGPT, how many people should I staff based on all this data for this restaurant? And it's going to tell us exactly without even having to do that. And we want to be on the front end of that instead of on the back end of that being disrupted. So harness the power of Industry 5.0. We've worked really hard on our app. Today we have 35,000 connected pieces of equipment that it sends data up to us to be able to analyze. By 2030, we want to have 100,000 pieces of connected equipment. That's everything from telling when the fryer is running or not, cameras that can see how many people are in the drive-thru, how many people are at the thing, what stations are manned in the back of the house, how much chicken has not been consumed yet and is still in hot holding. All of those kind of things so that we can, my dream is that we will just have a running OEE metric of here's how the chain's doing, here's how these restaurants are doing, here's how the Northeast is doing, and not only just know that stuff, but then be able to give operational information to our operators to run their businesses better. The restaurant industry is ripe for new technology. This is simultaneously the best and worst picture at Chick-fil-A. It's the best because people love our product that they're willing to come and stand in line for it. It's the worst for an IE because how many of those customers are actually enjoying what they want? Not one of them. They are waiting for our product. This is the evilest of the 8 waste in my estimation. And so we need to figure out a better way to serve our customers faster. I'm going to skip over this, but here's just data coming off of our fryers. Green is it's running, yellow is it's idle, there's no demand, and then red is something wrong with it. And so we use those actually to go into our capacity calculations. And one thing on this picture you may not have noticed, there's a camera right here. There's a camera right here. There's actually a camera up here. And you saw on the concept video, we're actually doing these things now where we can see every car that comes through the drive-thru and know where our wait times are between cash payment, ordering, pickup window, and all of those things. And our goal is to be able to get smart about where we need to deploy an extra team member to shorten the overall cycle time. How are you doing on harvesting the power of Industry 4.0 or 5.0? 0 to 5. And then number 8, deploy lean at the front line. Guys, I am a Michelin engineer from way back, and I appreciated the operator who did the job, but I did not perceive them as a part of the process to improve it. And I was trained, I wasn't in IE by degree, but I was trained as an IE that, like Moses coming down from the mountain with the 10 Commandments, my job was to go out and study the job, go up and sit and do my most at my computer and analyze cycle times and figure out the standard and then come out and say, thou shalt do it this way. And I had to learn at Chick-fil-A that there is never, even if I have the smartest industrial and systems engineering team, we will never lay our eyes on all the problems that our team members see every day of the week, that they spend 40 hours experiencing. They know where their back hurts. They know where the pain parts are. And so I was a slow comer to the team members should improve the process. And I kind of stood on, hey, they don't know everything they need to know about food safety and product quality and why we said to do it this way. And if they start doing their own thing, we just won't even have Chick-fil-A anymore. We'll just have a dozen different chicken sandwiches that we serve elsewhere. And there are those dangers. But the benefit of team members working in the process is so much better. And so what we've done is we have a sandbox is what we call it. And so a team member cannot do anything that impacts food safety. And there's lots of things team members don't know about temperatures of product and why we do it this way. They can't impact product quality. There is a order to how you mix lemonade because you want the right chemical reaction between the sugar and the lemonade to get the taste that our customers love. So you can't change the order of the ingredients even if you think it's faster. You can't do anything that voids our equipment warranty, and you can't do anything that jeopardizes people's safety. And we ask you to show us what you're doing. We have mechanisms that people can tell us what they're doing, and then we can say, hey, that's awesome. You can do that all day long. You can identify waste and 5S your store and think of ways to increase order accuracy, but occasionally you'll do something and we'll say, hey, don't do that, and here's why. And we tell them, and they appreciate for that. And then we have gotten so many great ideas that come from team members of things that my team never would have thought of. A lot of time, quick wins that my team's thinking about higher, bigger problems, and then somebody comes in with a win that just everybody loves. And we can give the team member credit for it. We give away a lot of Amazon gift cards, and we do a lot of recognizing of team members who come up with ideas, and then we systematize those ideas and get them out to the chain. So how are you doing at making your front line lean ambassadors? Number 9, prioritize projects by value. I'm just going to hit this one really quickly. Never, never, never lose a project idea. When you see a project idea, write it down. When you hear a project idea from somebody, get it captured. We have mechanisms with just Microsoft Forms that any team member or operator can just jot a little note and put it into a database that we go once a year and look through all of that things. Students, how many students we got here? Raise your hand if you're a student. All right. Guys, you have the best recording device known to man in your pocket. I tell my engineers, my engineer will come say, hey, David, I saw this in the restaurant. I'm concerned about it. I'm like, can you show me a picture? Oh, I didn't think to take a picture. And I make them take out their phone. Do you have your phone? That's why the company pays for your phone, so that you can take a picture of what you saw. You can text it to me at any time. Most people have pictures of their kids on their phone. I have lots of pictures of chicken on my phone. And so never lose a project idea. We have a simple website that operators or any staff member can submit an idea, and we promise to do up to 3 hours investigation and to give them a response within 3 weeks. Now, rarely do we ever need to give 3 hours of investigation, but I like the 3 and 3 weeks, and it does take us sometimes up to 3 weeks to get an answer back. And we can say, when you give us an idea, we can call you and ask for more information. We can tell you, hey, you can't do that because it violates food safety, and we show them that that sandbox graph and tell them why we can't do that, and they end up respecting Chick-fil-A more, that we care about that. Or we can say, hey, we don't have the resources to work on that right now, but there's nothing wrong with you doing it. And hey, would you just keep me in the loop? And in 3 months, let me know how it's going if you still think this is valuable. And then the other thing I could say is, hey, this is the best thing we've ever seen. We think this is so important. We're going to put it in next year's business plan, or theoretically, it's so big we need to put somebody on it right now. That doesn't happen all the time, but it is when it happens. It's a big day because we found a valuable idea. So fill the funnel, and when I say fill, I mean fill the funnel. How many ideas should you have in the funnel? Right now, we have 177 unacted ideas in our project funnel. Not all of them are that valuable. If they were, hopefully we'd already be working on them. But we have a list that we go back to, and every year we are prioritizing those. This is a value stream roadmap of the things that we need. I won't go into it right now, but just we keep track of what's going to break in the restaurant in capacity, complexity, reliability, risk, or something that we need to make our money back on. And this is how we track. These are the things that need to be worked on. We do business cases, we prioritize our projects, and then we go down and assign things to the level of resources we have. And number 10 is, as an IE team, bring clarity, focus, and alignment. And what that specifically means to me is I ask my team to get the facts. I don't care if everybody else in the organization doesn't know if this is a good idea or a bad idea. I want you guys to go figure out what would we get and what would we pay if we decide to do this. Get the facts. Have a point of view. I don't even care if it's the right point of view. I at least want to get us talking about it. Now, I hope over time it's a better and better and better point of view. But at least when you come talk to me, tell me you think we should do it or we shouldn't do it. Make a recommendation to me, and I call that our crappy first draft. And at least now we can say, something about that doesn't sound right. Let's go get some more information. Or, nope, I'm with you, go do it. So make a recommendation and then get good at building a team around a direction. It takes more than one person to get something done in a big company. So we need to start getting other people to say, yeah, we think that's important. How are you doing in bringing clarity, focus, and alignment? So how are you doing on all of those best practices? Give yourself a 0 to 5, add those numbers up, multiply it by 2, and you'll have a percentage. That's your score for today. How are you guys doing? And then I would encourage you to pick 2 to focus on. Don't go to try to implement all 10 of these, but what 2 were the ones that you feel like could be most valuable for you? And guys, I do what I do because I feel like I've been gifted with a mind that just sees the waste, with a mind that says, hey, this could be better than it is. And I want to use that gifting to help other people. And for us, it's team members. In fact, that one's really special to me right there. That's my daughter. She's my researcher, and she works at Chick-fil-A. I don't want it to be the story of the world's most caring company, that it is a matter of course that if you cook chicken in the back of house, you get little burn marks on your arms because the oil splatters out. That's not the world's most caring company, and you carry those around for the rest of your life. The stakes are high for what you and I get to do. I think we have the best profession in the world, and I encourage you to go do it well and keep learning and get better and better about it and share best practices every time you can so we all get better. Thank you.
Thank you, David. We have a small gift for you, so thank you so much. And we have time for a few questions. There's 2 student volunteers walking around. We just have a few minutes, but it looks like you right in the front row. They're walking fast to you. And then
Great talk, David. A question I have is around how does your team or the organization think about environmental sustainability, and how do you build that into your operations and decision making?
Yeah, environmental sustainability, and what was the second one?
Yeah, just how do you incorporate it in decision making as well as the actual operations?
Yeah, great question. We have a goal to reduce our waste by 25% by 2030. I'm not always, at Chick-fil-A, they like big goals, and a lot of times they'll set a big goal before they even know how feasible that is. But we do have a heart for that. I can tell you a couple of things that we've been really successful at and that I'm super excited about. Every restaurant, as you know, ends up with food left over at the end of the day. And in the past, we weren't even able to donate it to anybody because if somebody gets sick on it, you say we gave it away and it was fresh and good when we gave it away, but it ends up in the soup kitchen and then somebody eats it and, it was in a Chick-fil-A wrapper and all that. And then, it looks like we serve food safe food. So we actually partnered with an organization called Shared Table that they take the custody of the food from us when we get it. And over 85% of our restaurants today, of course, we can put the food in the fridge and just somebody come by once a week and get it. But it actually shifts ownership and it is no longer Chick-fil-A food. But 85% of our restaurants donate their food at least once a week, and it goes into food kitchens and all of that so that somebody can eat it. And so that's one thing we do. Our foam cups are a big issue right now. Our customers love our foam cups because they don't sweat and they keep the drink really cold. But foam is not great for the environment. We do a lot of research about, is it really worse than this or not, and that kind of thing. And sometimes there's public perceptions. But we are trying to figure out, and I think we have gone away from foam cups in places where it's already mandated, and we're trying to figure out the right way to transition. So we think a lot about that. We build our restaurants very energy efficient for two reasons. One, we do want to do the right thing for the environment, and two, every time we add any more electrical service to the restaurant, it pushes up into higher rates and all of that. So we have good economic incentive to do it. Our lemon juice factory was probably the biggest win that we've ever done because of the transportation costs, not shipping cases of lemons all over the country when all we needed was the juice. So we do think about those things. We do think about them just in terms of economics, but also doing the right thing for being the world's most caring company. Thanks for the question.
Thank you, David. We have time for one more question.
Great presentation. Thank you very much. My question is a little bit into the crystal ball territory. What's your next S-curve looks like, and what will be driving that?
Yeah, so my funny answer to that is I always want to invent a pill that makes you think you had a good Chick-fil-A sandwich that didn't give you any calories. That might break the laws of physics, though. I do think that convenience, serving people where they want to eat it, figuring out how to, like we've experimented with drones and all those kinds of things. I think just the way the world is going is making it frictionless to have the food where you want it is going to be the key to the game. And then also I think more healthy options that taste good. Those are two things that we really think about a lot.
Thank you so much, David. We really appreciate it. I know I learned a lot, so thank you so much.
Thank you very much.